Aaron Rodgers is rested and ready for the divisional round. Is his legacy on the line tomorrow against the 49ers? This Tom Brady guy, pretty good. Can TB12 reach his NFL record 15th conference championship game? And the poster boy for QB wins, Jimmy G. Would a win over the Packers change the Garoppolo narrative? Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. We have such a great show for you today. Getting ready for a great weekend. Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. All that guy Jimmy G does is win, buddy. I think I'm on your corner.
Play to win the game.
Whose corner? Mine?
That's you, Wildes. Your corner, buddy.
Oh,
she said your name. We're off to a roaring start. Best weekend of the year. Wildes already fumbling the ball like Josh Allen. Let's go. Jenna, let's get to it.
It's my fault. It was a bad pass. It was my fault. It was a terrible pass.
Jimmy G
Start
out
with the
there,
little
Jenna.
Bills Chiefs. Here we go. That's right. Great looking, but not always accurate. Second straight year these two teams are meeting in the postseason, these Bills and Chiefs. Hey, both teams healthy. Both teams coming off big wild card wins. Both teams up for the moniker of best in the AFC. Just don't tell Nick. Shoot. Dang it, I just did. KC barely favored at home despite only losing once since November 1st. All right, Nick, you obviously heard it. What do you expect to happen in this game?
I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win, and I know that'll shock the audience because nobody's picking the Chiefs to win. Broussard is, because Broussard is, take integrity and all and pick the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. But it's a very controversial opinion around the media streets this week, and part of me understands it. Part of me understands why folks want to pick the Bills, because it is the hardest thing to do in the NFL is to make 3 straight Super Bowls. We have had 8 teams win back-to-back Super Bowls. We have only had 3 teams appear in 3 straight Super Bowls. The Dolphins in the 70s, the Bills famously in the 90s made 4 straight, and the Patriots a few years ago. So it is incredibly rare that a team dominate a conference the way the Chiefs are trying to over even a 3-year stretch of time. However, Broussard, this is where I'm upset. And this is where I will go out and say, I'm picking the Chiefs to win. I think it'll be a good game. However, if you'd ask me what is more likely, the Chiefs trounce the Bills like they did last year, or the Chiefs lose, I'll take the trouncing. Because the very simple math of this game is, which team is at home? Which team has the better coach? Which team has the better weapons? And yes, dare I say, which team has the better quarterback? Check, 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 all in the same column, all for the Kansas City Chiefs. Has Patrick Mahomes ever been bad in a home playoff game? Actually, he's only ever been perfect in home playoff games. Those ranks are NFL history, by the way. The only loss he's ever suffered at home was an overtime loss where he was not able to touch the ball his first year as a starter, playing the greatest coach and greatest quarterback ever. The only playoff game he has ever played poorly in was last year's Super Bowl, where quite literally, Broussard, he was pressured more in that game than any quarterback has ever been pressured, not in any Super Bowl, not in any playoff game, in any NFL game ever. The most pressures in a single football game ever was last year's Super Bowl. So yeah, if the Bills are going to pressure him 29 times, like Tampa did, then I suppose they can win. But we know Mahomes is showing up. We know the Arrowhead crowd is showing up. Do we know Josh Allen is showing up? He might. The quarterback runs scare me. They do. Stephon Diggs is awesome. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. And if you're making me choose Chiefs in a blowout or Bills at all, I'll take Chiefs in a blowout.
Like it.
Well, look, I'm with you, Nick, obviously on the Chiefs winning. I wouldn't say, if you give me 2 choices, Chiefs trouncing or Chiefs loss, I would pick Chiefs loss. I think it's more likely that Buffalo wins than they just get demolished. All right, now I'm thinking Chiefs win by somewhere 7 to 9 points. All right, but I am with you and I feel your anger. Your anger is that everyone is giving Buffalo a benefit of the doubt that they're not giving the Chiefs. It's as simple as that. Everyone is, like you said it, Buffalo, didn't look all that great in wins against the Jets at the end of the season. And I even said yesterday that they had a wake-up call. All right, they had a wake-up call when they were embarrassed against New England with the 3-pass game, the loss. And then it looked like it was closer than it was against Tampa Bay. But they were down 24-3 in that game. So those two games woke them up. I said yesterday. But did it? Maybe it didn't wake them up. Because the 4 teams they beat at the end of the season, 3 of them were losing teams. And 1 of them was New England, which lost 3 of its last 4 games in the regular season. So I was giving them a benefit of the doubt that, hey, they woke up, but maybe not. Maybe they just played bad teams. All right. And last week, while it's obviously impressive what they did to Belichick and the Patriots, but in the regular season, they followed up impressive wins with bad losses.
That's right.
They follow up the big win over Kansas City with a loss to Tennessee. They blew out the Jets, scored 45 points against them, and then lost to Indianapolis. All right, they put 31 on New Orleans and then come back with a loss to New England in the windstorm. So every time they had a huge win, or many times in the regular season, they couldn't follow it up. And I think that could happen this week as well. And here's the final thing. People are talking about the 38-20 win of early in the season. But that was an entirely different Kansas City team. We know their defense was among the worst in the league at that point, if not the worst. Chris Jones didn't play that game. Melvin Ingram didn't play that game. And, last half of the season, they've been one of the best defenses in the league. Patrick Mahomes was in the middle of a turnover extravaganza during that loss. Yeah. He had 3 turnovers in that game. He's only had 3 interceptions in his last 9 regular seasons games, Wild. So this is a totally different Kansas City Chiefs team, and I don't think people are fully understanding that as they make their predictions.
So there was one interesting note about Kansas City being totally different, because a lot of times we talk about Mahomes' turnovers went down, the defense got better, although, Nick, the defense has taken a step back. I want to show you this stat and get your take on it. It was in the Ringer article. Stephen Ruiz did it, but it's an NFL, stat. What is it called? What is this officially called?
Next Gen Stat.
I'm sorry.
Next Gen Stat.
I apologize,
no problem.
Pepper. Next Gen Stat. So the Next Gen Stat, I was shocked by this, Nick. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 touchdown passes targeting vertical routes for the first time since Week 12, 2020. I just feel like I have forgotten about Patrick Mahomes with long bombs when a lot of these have been little crossing routes with a lot of yak from Tyreek Hill. Do you think now Patrick Mahomes, we're going to see basically a brand new Patrick Mahomes where he really starts airing it out against the Bills? And I know this is going to put you in a tough spot here. Mac Jones, I'm not saying he has the strongest arm in the world, but he was only a few inches away from completing a beautiful pass if Micah Hyde didn't come up with the interception. I feel like Patrick Mahomes can make that pass, and Buffalo is vulnerable to those.
Well, listen, Buffalo lost their best defensive player, Tre'Davious White, and no one's been able to make him pay for it. They lost him weeks ago because they've played nothing other than Brady but bad quarterbacks. And against Brady, obviously, the Bucs scored 30-plus, and the Bills lost that game. I do think there is a bit of a culture shock that's about to hit the Bills with the quality of Mahomes' play. I also think the Chiefs, with Jerick McKinnon, the Bills are very susceptible against the run. I think they're going to be playing the pass, and the Chiefs can gash them on that, make them respect that, and then you can hit them over the top. But there's one other factor to this game that no one has mentioned. Sometimes I discover something, and I'm like, you know what, let me just see if someone else in the media landscape is going to plow this ground. And no one has, and now we're days away, so I'll do it. The scariest curse in sports the last few years, you guys are going to laugh and then you're going to think about it, is the Chiefs divisional round curse. Do you realize what's happened to franchises that have played Patrick Mahomes in this round? Let me just tell you real quick. First time, it was the Colts. That was Andrew Luck's last game ever. He quit football after that game. The next year, you know they played in the divisional round? The Houston Texans. They have been the worst franchise in the league since that game. They're up 24-0. Then they went 4-12. Then Deshaun Watson didn't play, fired the whole organization, made a chaplain in charge of everything. Who'd they play in the divisional round last year? The Cleveland Browns. How'd this season go for them? How'd Baker do? How'd Odell do? How'd all of that go? There's a very funny thing that happens. You come to Arrowhead, the divisional round, feeling great. Oh, my God, we could slay the Chiefs. Oh, my God, we could make a Super Bowl. And you leave so beaten and despondent, you might quit the sport like Luck. You might burn the franchise down like they have in Houston. You might implode from the inside like they did in Cleveland. So I understand Bills Mafia. You're feeling great. You're breaking tables. You're making plans for Los Angeles. I just do wonder what happens if you lose this game. What the Bills look like last year. Maybe you can call up, Andrew the Giant Luck, see what he's doing. I think he's touring the Louvre as we speak. It's very interesting what happens to teams that play the Chiefs in this round. Something to think about, Wilds.
I love that.
Louvre would be nice,
Good
though.
news for the Pats, Wild.
Totally off base. Yeah, really. Let's talk this guy. Nobody skips in practice better than Tampa Tom. Will Brady win on Sunday and reach his NFL record 15th conference championship game? We'll talk about that next. First things first. Tomorrow, the NFC Divisional Playoff, presented by Intuit TurboTax Live, is on Fox as Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers head to Lambeau to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. It all starts at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. And Fox Bet Super 6 is bringing back Stack the Cash. Scan the QR code, enter for a free chance at the growing jackpot. One of the questions, who wins and by how many points? All right, Nick. Niners, Packers. Who wins and by how many points?
Jenna, I hate to be put in this position. 2 years ago, I picked the Packers to make the Super Bowl. Midway through the season, I said, oh, God, I don't think they can beat the Niners. Then they played the Niners in the conference championship game all week long. I had this sinking feeling the Niners would win. But due to take integrity, I stuck with the Packers. Packers got blown out. Am I going to make that same mistake? Wow. Packers by 1. Packers by 1.
Wow.
They survived. Let's go. Wow. Let's just keep it going. I don't feel great about it, America. Packers by 1, Broussard.
It sounds, Nick, like you expect Jimmy G to go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm glad you finally come aboard. All right, so I'm torn. I was torn with San Francisco, Dallas. Went with the 49ers and obviously was right on that one. But against a lot of my gut, I am going to go with the Green Bay Packers. And I'm saying Green Bay by 6, Wilds. Green Bay by 6.
Right on the line.
Are you talking about toe-to-toe, Broussard? We know that Aaron Rodgers' toe hurts. We saw it ourselves. Granted, Jimmy G's got a little bit of a shoulder injury, a little bit of a thumb injury, Jenna. But I am going with the former Patriot, Jimmy G, to carry the 49ers. Maybe he will throw more than 8 passes. You don't know because he doesn't necessarily need to win. 49ers by 3.
Our QB1 guy. I love
Not
it.
bad,
All right, well, last time the Stack the Cash jackpot grew to over $300,000. So invite your friends because the more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot gets. Speaking of big, great transition. Let's talk some Tom Brady, who is on the verge of extending another ridiculous record. With a win Sunday versus the Rams, Brady gets to his 15th conference championship game. He's made a habit out of dominating the divisional round, 14-2 overall, including an active 9-game win streak. And he's got a new clothing line. Chris Broussard, are you brave enough to bet against Brady versus the Rams?
Jenna, why would I? Why in the world would I go against Tom Brady in this game? And I get it. The Rams looked great last week. The defense looked like we saw last year, right? They're back. They got their swagger back. Oh, okay. I think not, though. Because instead of facing a shell-shocked Kyler Murray, you're facing the GOAT, who is not only coming off a really good playoff game last week, but he's coming off a should be MVP season. One of the best years of his career. Instead of facing a team that doesn't have a great receiving threat because DeAndre Hopkins was out for Arizona, you're facing a team with Mike Evans, and people sleeping too much on Mike Evans. Mike Evans is not middling like a lot of people have been saying. He's nice. And Gronkowski is still there and doing his thing. All right? Instead of playing in the plush confines of SoFi Stadium, you're going to Tampa Bay, where they were 8-1 this season, or are 8-1 this season, and Tom Brady is 21-4 at home in the playoffs. That is more home playoff wins than the next two QBs combined, who happen to be guys named Peyton Manning and Joe Montana. So no, I am not going against Tom Brady. And you talk about defense, Wilds, I liked what I saw from Tampa Bay's defense last week. They got Shaq Barrett back, JPP's back, Levante Davis back. They look hungry. They looked energized. And they shut down that Philly run game, which has been the best in the league. If they can do the same, and this is the key, they shut down the Rams run game, which has been big. And then they force it to be Stafford got to beat him with his arm. And now you got Stafford trying to outgun Brady. I'm going with Brady all day, every day.
Okay.
Ooh.
This pains me to say, Broussard, because we are on the same Brady corner. And Brady has some superhero aspects to him. When all is lost, here comes the superhero, and he will lead us to victory. But he's the weirdest type of superhero, Nick. He's the fragile superhero. Well, superheroes, you can throw them up against a building. They bounce back off. Here I am. Old Tom Brady is a superhero who doesn't like to be touched at all. He's lost 9 games as a Buccaneer. When he gets sacked 3 or more times, he's 4-6. When he gets sacked less than 3 times, 25-3. So, lost to the Rams earlier this year. How many times did he get sacked? 3 times. Last week, won the game. Eagles sacked him 4 times. Going up against Aaron Donald. Ryan Jensen, we don't know how good he's going to be. Game time decision. Tristan Wirfs, game time decision. We saw him limping off the field. It's that guy right there, Nick, I'm worried about. I think Tom Brady is a superhero, but he's a superhero who doesn't like to be touched, doesn't like to be hit.
Yeah.
It's the way you can beat Tom Brady and the Bucs. I think the Rams pull this off.
All right, first of all, I learned something watching this practice footage.
It's true.
I didn't know Aaron Donald actually practices choking his opponent.
Yes.
So when he pulled that out in the game this week, he was like, you know what I mean? Practice how you play, my friend.
Technique.
So here's the deal. I don't have a devil on my shoulder and an angel on my shoulder. I have devils on both shoulders in this game because I hate the idea of picking a team as banged up as Tampa. Because it's not, you look at who practiced and didn't practice yesterday, it's playoff time, got to look at weather and injury reports. It's not just the Wirfs and Jensen who didn't practice. It's also Cyril Grayson, Broussard's guy. Broussard Perriman didn't practice. Running back injuries. JPP's out with personal reasons. Tom Brady took a personal day or veteran rest yesterday. A lot of guys not practicing days before the playoff game. That is concerning. But the other devil on my shoulder is you're going to pick Matt Stafford to go on the road and beat Tom Brady. You're really going to do that, and you're going to feel good about that. However, I think the Rams win this game outright. I think the Bucs are too banged up. I think they're too tired. I think the AB thing did take something out of this football team. I also think there is going to be, Broussard, and we haven't talked about it from this angle, some extra anxiety for those receivers other than Evans and Gronk about what if this is Tom's last game? What if this is Tom's last season? I can't be the one who lets him down. I can't be the one who runs the wrong route. And I think that can work against guys. Because there is murmurs that this could be Brady's last season. Wild's buddy Simmons brought it up again this week. We've talked about it. I don't think that plays well into the hands of the Bucs. I think the Rams have the better coach. No disrespect to Arians. I like McVay more. And the Rams have owned this matchup since Brady went to Tampa. They beat him both last year and this year. So for all those reasons, I just think the Bucs are too banged up. And last point, Broussard, I don't think the Bucs have an answer for Kupp other than doubling him. And if you double Kupp, I think Odell could have a big day. A big day. Because if you don't double Kupp, I think he's going to crush you. Kupp was kind of quiet last round because they didn't throw the ball that much. So for all those reasons, I got to go with the Rams.
Well, the Buccaneers secondary does concern me a bit. So they got to get pressure on Stafford because not just Kupp, OBJ, Van Jefferson. I mean, we know they don't have a tremendous secondary in Tampa Bay. So that is concerning. And Worth's got to play.
Sorry, buddy.
He's got to. If he doesn't play,
okay,
it's tough, all right, to pick them. But I'm sticking with them. But they need Tristan Wirfs on that field, and they need him to be effective. But they need him to be effective. He's one of the best in the league, and if he can play at 85 to 90% effectively, then that could be good enough. But, Nick, you mentioned Brady's last game, perhaps. Well, it could work the other way. You know if it's his last game or his last season, Gronk and him want to go out like Jordan and Pippen, right? You know, you talk about the last dance that Rodgers, sent out that Instagram or whatever it was. Gronk and Tom Brady would like to go out, if they're going out, like Jordan Pippen. And Mike Evans could be like, look, who knows who my quarterback's going to be next year. I've been with Jameis Winston. All right, I've enjoyed playing with Tom Brady. This might be my last opportunity. So it could work in the reverse. I am sticking with the Buccaneers, and I'm saying it with bass. And I'm saying it with my chest poked out. It might not look like it or sound like it, but it's there.
Jenna, Dusty's our superhero expert. Maybe he can tell us for the next segment which member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was suspended for cheating in the Superhero Council. I'm not sure. Was that Iron? Was it Ant-Man? I'm not sure.
We're up against a break. You want to squeeze that in?
Dusty's insulted.
Yeah.
Dusty's insulted by the question.
I just don't know the answer.
Talk about the other NFC divisional round game, Niners-Packers. Is Aaron Rodgers' legacy riding on the outcome of tomorrow's game in Green Bay? All that plus everything you want to know about the Marvel series. First. All right, shift our focus to Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers played some of his best football ever to get Green Bay to the 1 seed. And with a win tomorrow against San Francisco, Rodgers will have the Packers in the NFC title game for the 3rd straight season. But don't get too comfy, A-Rod. The first round bye hasn't been kind to you guys. You've been bounced before the Super Bowl the 4 times you've had a bye. Pack have only hosted the NFC title game once with Aaron Rodgers. So, Nick, does a loss tomorrow drastically alter Aaron Rodgers' legacy?
I think a loss tomorrow changes the tier, if you will, of all-time quarterback he's likely to be viewed in. Because fact of the matter is this, Aaron Rodgers' first 5 playoff games, he went 4-1, won a Super Bowl, and the one loss, his team scored 45 points, and he lost in overtime. So he started off his career, almost as well as Mahomes started his. And then imagine, let's use Mahomes as an example. Imagine if Mahomes, after that start, never won another Super Bowl, never even got to another Super Bowl, and we were a decade removed.
Right.
That's almost unfathomable. And it is unfathomable because Mahomes got to one already, but didn't win it. And that's what Rodgers has been through. Rodgers started out 4-1 in the playoffs. Since then, Broussard, he's 7-8. And so no one's catching Brady in the rings or the numbers. We know that. I think if they win the Super Bowl this year, Broussard, there will be a legitimate, who you got, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning. I think that will be a legitimate argument. I think if they lose this weekend, it's very, very difficult to make that argument. I think if they lose this weekend, he no longer gets to be, it's like Brady is there, but then there's Manning and Montana, and some would say Elway, pick your favorite next quarterback. A lot of people would say Rodgers is right there. They lose this weekend, Another home playoff loss, another bye squandered, another time the Niners beat you in the playoffs, which has happened 3 times already in his career, multiple different quarterbacks. I think they've got to win this weekend. I think they've got to at least make the Super Bowl if we're going to have the Rodgers versus Peyton Manning discussion. So again, these are high-class problems. It's not like you lose this weekend, is he a Hall of Famer? No, I'm not talking about that. He's still one of the greatest ever. But among the guys who are also the greatest ever, where does he stack up? A loss this weekend hurts it immeasurably.
Yeah, and Nick, I think some people still would look at him and say he's the best we've ever seen throw the football, at least for the time being. You know, we'll see Mahomes could surpass him going forward. Sure. But I do think you'll still hear people say that. But what a loss this weekend would do is put into serious question his ability to win big games. It really was. Serious question about his ability to win big games. And obviously, when you get to the Super Bowl, you want to win it. And that's important. We don't give you tons of credit for losing Super Bowls. However, there is something to be said for getting there. It does mean you were able to win your conference championship. All right? And obviously, Brady, like you said, he's off the charts. But Elway went to 5, lost his first 3, and then won his last 2. Peyton went to 4. Patrick Mahomes has already been to 2. Brett Favre went to 2. I believe Rodgers is definitely better than Favre. But Favre got to 2 Super Bowls. And Aaron Rodgers, as great as you are, has been to 1? It'd be one thing if you went to 2 and lost 1 and won 1. You've been to 1, and that was 11 years ago. And it's not like you're playing in Detroit, like you're playing in Jacksonville. You are with a good franchise, a franchise that was winning before you and has won with you. And you have not been able to seal the deal. And you can't put this, you know, early on, and you mentioned it, Nick, you used to be able to put it on his defense. Right? Because the defense just was not that good, wouldn't show up in the playoffs. Well, not so much now. Because the defense has been in the top 10 scoring the last 2 years. The defense hasn't been the huge problem. I mean, they have given up points in the first half in his last 2 losses, Tampa Bay and San Francisco. But he didn't show up either in the first half. And the stats look okay when you look at them, but that's because he came from or rallied when they're down a couple touchdowns, if not more. And so this would be huge. But here's the one thing, Nick, where I would say keep this in mind. He does still have time. All right. He's still, 37? Sure. And he looks like he's got 3 more years at least at a high level. So if he loses this weekend, but comes back next year and wins a Super Bowl, or leaves Green Bay and wins another Super Bowl, he's right back near the top, and you're comparing him to Peyton Manning. Because Manning, the one thing, Manning's second Super Bowl win, whilst he was a shell of himself. And we know the defense carried him in that game. And Rodgers, presumably, if he wins another Super Bowl in the next few years, he would be the driving force rather than just kind of being carried along for the ride.
Yeah, I know that Tom Brady's old and Aaron Rodgers getting up there, but I'm not sure that he still has time and he's 37 is necessarily holding a lot of water for me. He's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen. The window is shrinking, so I think he needs to get it done. But here's the weird thing, Nick, and I'll throw this to you. You know, I pray at the altar of quarterback wins. What do I do if Aaron Rodgers plays awesome? What if Aaron Rodgers throws 3 touchdowns, has 375 yards, no picks, leads the team down, but handful of fumbles, can't stop Jimmy G, the running attack of the 49ers, able to just kind of bully the Packers, and they lose the game, 30-24. Do you still think that's legacy defining because he wasn't able to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, 3 and 375 wouldn't be enough? Do you think that would be a mark on his resume?
Yeah, I think because it's at home. A home loss to Jimmy Garoppolo is going to sting. I do understand there's a scenario where he plays great and they lose, but that is It's not like he's playing. I don't think many people think the Packers can lose this game 38-35. There are some of these losses that unequivocally are not on him. The defense did not give them a chance. The conference championship game against Atlanta is the one that really sticks out to me. But Broussard, since the Super Bowl, here's how Rodgers has gone out in the playoffs year by year. 15-1 at home to the Giants. Then back-to-back years to Cap and the Niners, one in San Francisco, one at home. Then the famous conference championship game that we kill McCarthy for, rightfully so, was they're up 22-7. I understand that. Or 19-7, whatever it was. However, Rodgers was awful in that game. He had a 56 rating. He had 2 picks. They should have won it despite that, but he was really bad in that game. Even though it wasn't his fault, they collapsed at the end. The next year was the Arizona loss. Now, what is remembered in that game is Rodgers completed 2 Hail Marys. But the reason they remember he had the Hail Mary from his goal line, then the Hail Mary in the end zone, they then lose in overtime. But they needed those 2 Hail Marys because Rodgers had been relatively ineffective throughout the bulk of that game. They were in the mid-teens until those 2 Hail Marys. Then there's the Atlanta game I don't hold against him. Then back-to-back years, they don't make the playoffs. And then 2 years ago, San Francisco runs all over them. I don't hold that one against him. Last year, though, at home against Tampa, the game's there for the taking, at least to get to overtime, and you can't punch it in at the end. Not all of these losses are on him, certainly. And with a better coach for the bulk of his career, he could have had some of those games and still made a Super Bowl. But right now, you're at home. You're healthier. You're the better team. You've got to beat the Niners. And I'm very, this is a coin flip game to me.
No, he's got to win. 4 touchdowns, 400 yards in a loss. Okay, it'll soothe you a little bit. It'll keep people off your back a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers lost again. And it takes a certain mental toughness, mental fortitude, some intangibles to win. To win a Super Bowl, it's not just physical ability. Look at Tom Brady and Joe Montana. Not the most physically gifted quarterbacks ever, but the best 2 ever because they had what it took to make the big play or guide the team down the field or galvanize the locker room during the week. Whatever it is to get you ready to win that big game. Heck, Eli Manning, Jim Plunkett, not great quarterbacks in the regular season, but they had what it took to win in Super Bowls or big games. And Aaron Rodgers, if they lose to Garoppolo, I don't care what he does individually, you're going to say he's lacking in that area, at least until he does it maybe next year or the year after.
Chris, Nick, yes, the Bills are going to win.
Wow. Here comes Greg Jennings.
This is a team that has everything rolling in the right direction. But I bet you one thing that you guys are nervous about. If that ball bounces the wrong way for you, you know what you're going to get. And it's a really electric and high-performing Josh Allen. They're going to walk into Arrowhead and punch the Chiefs in the mouth.
Whoa.
That was our
Greg
fired
Jennings
up friend
unplugged.
Greg Jennings on Wednesday. Proudly, confidently, I might add, picking the Bills to beat the Chiefs Sunday night. Then took that mojo out for a spin in the gym, apparently, as I saw on Instagram. Greg killing on a leg press, not important now. We're lucky to have Greg back with us on a Friday morning to take the conversation even further. All right, Greg, would a Bills upset over the Chiefs be a big deal for Josh Allen or for Patrick Mahomes?
Bigger deal for Josh Allen. Look, Patrick Mahomes has already won the Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He's beaten Tom Brady when it mattered most. The one who we all consider to be the GOAT, who is the GOAT, and any and everyone who actually understands what it means to play the game of football and win on top of just playing. He is the GOAT. And Patrick Mahomes took him out. Now, some may question how he took him out. It doesn't matter. His team overcame and they won. But Josh Allen hasn't done that with the greatest quarterback in the AFC right now. and that is Patrick Mahomes. Now, you can beat a team in the regular season. I've been there with the Giants. I felt like the Giants were a nemesis of ours, and then we would get to the NFC Championship game or any game in the postseason. It's like, can we beat these guys? Because it mattered then. It did not matter in the regular season in 2010 when we were trying to get into the postseason, even though it was like postseason atmosphere when we played them at the end of the year. It mattered more when we had to play them in the postseason. And so when I look at Josh Allen, and when it matters, he has to be better than Patrick Mahomes. His team has to come out on top. You can't just crown a guy because they won in the regular season or they beat him even this week. If they do win, he then has to continue on and go to win the Super Bowl. So, yes, it means far more to Josh Allen and Bills Mafia and that team because of the way that they have been constructed. They have been constructed defensively and offensively to go after this team. Every team in the AFC understands who sits at the top of the mountain, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And in order to win, in order to say, I am better than, you have to beat them when it matters most. And that is in this moment, in a divisional round, on the road, on their turf, you got to show up.
Yeah.
And
Greg,
will.
I'm gonna answer the question. But just real quick here first, and make sure we give Greg a chance at the end of the segment. Greg, just ponder these 4 questions just real quick. This football game coming up, which team is at home? Which team has the better coach? Which team has the better quarterback? Which team has the better weapons? And while you're pondering that, see if you come to the same conclusion, it's all the same team and it's the team I picked against. And we're going to allow you at the end of the segment, if you want to change your pick, you can change your pick. We allow 1 mulligan a year, so just wait. We'll wait and see if you change your pick. Now, to answer this question. Listen, this is obviously, Brew, a far bigger game for Mahomes. He's playing the best quarterback in the conference. He's playing the best young quarterback.
Here we go.
He's playing the guy that, he is. Just had Peter Schrager, our friend, said Josh Allen just played the greatest playoff game ever. I didn't know you were eligible for that wild card weekend, but evidently you are. Wild's dear friend.
Right.
The co-founder of Half Baked Ideas, Bill Simmons, said Josh Allen is the quarterback he would take for one game over anyone in the league. The Vegas is saying on a neutral field, the Bills would be favored. Josh, has Mahomes ever had 7 straight touchdown drives? No. 12 hours later, 18 hours later, he had 6 straight touchdown drives, and he did it in 20 minutes, but who cares? That's just against Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt, Mike Tomlin, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward. What is that? Where do they do that at? No, guys, I understand that Patrick Mahomes has literally never had a bad playoff game at home. I understand Patrick Mahomes has played poorly in one playoff game ever, and it was the game where he was pressured more than any quarterback's ever been pressured in any football game in the NFL in its history. I get all that. But Josh Allen has played one great game in a row, and that's how you become the best quarterback in football. Listen, 12 days ago, was he in a dogfight against the Jets? He was. 19 days ago, did he have 0 touchdowns, 3 picks against the Falcons? The worst game of his career? It happened. But, Broussard, we all know that we crown these things on a day-to-day basis. It's why everyone was saying, for a few weeks last year, Trae Young was the best player in the league. It's why we regularly say, you know what? I actually think the best running back in football might be Cam Akers. Did you see him in the wild card weekend, fresh off the injury? Oh my God. It's how we do these things. So Mahomes is going up against the champ. And so he's got to win it back. So I think it's way more on the line for Mahomes. And I don't know if he can do it. Josh Allen, he's basically, he's LeBron in a football uniform. He's big, he's strong. I don't know how you stop him. I just don't know. Maybe they should ask the Jets.
All your sarcasm notwithstanding, Nick, you're right. And Greg, look, everything you said was correct. It should be a bigger game for Josh Allen because ultimately he's got to get a Super Bowl, right? And you got to win this game. You got to take down the giant of the AFC to get there. If you lose and you're Josh Allen, this was overall a disappointing season. You were expected to fight for the MVP award. You didn't even make the Pro Bowl. You're expected to make the Super Bowl or at least try to get closer to it. You don't even get to the AFC title game. So it would be a disappointing season overall. And what he did last week, we'll always remember that, but it'll be relegated to a footnote in an overall disappointing season. So it should be the bigger game for Josh Allen. But as Nick pointed out, the media's "what have you done for me lately" reactions now. You know, the who's the best yesterday? That's the best one, period. That type of mentality, to me, makes it a bigger game for Mahomes. Because some of it's the standard that Mahomes has already set for himself by winning the MVP award so early, by winning the Super Bowl so early and beating Tom Brady and getting to back-to-back Super Bowls. So now it's like I've talked about James Harden this year. I'm judging him by superstar, all-time elite level. So, yeah, 2010 and 8, he's playing well, but it's not what I'm used to from him. And so maybe I've been a little harsh on him. And so Mahomes, I think that's what he's going through. So, Greg, if Mahomes loses, whereas before the season, virtually everyone was saying, even though Aaron Rodgers was the MVP, Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. They won't be saying that anymore. They probably won't even be saying, foolishly, erroneously, but probably won't even say he's the best quarterback in the AFC. Might not even have him second best. Some will say Josh Allen. Some may say Justin Herbert. Some may say Joe Burrow, depending on what they do against Tennessee. So I do think perception-wise, Wilds, it's bigger for Mahomes, even though it really should be Allen.
No, I completely disagree. Even though you guys are making some great points. While they're making some great points. But no, all of what you're talking about, all of this, Patrick Mahomes, the media has turned this into a "what have you done for me lately?" Well, if Josh Allen loses this game, he completely falls down. Like, we're not going to consider Patrick Mahomes a has-been or, he's not one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. We can't strip him of a Super Bowl. We can't strip him of all these accolades that he has earned already. Josh Allen is the label of, or the definition of, potential right now at quarterback, because we see the big arm, we see the leg, we see the size, we see all that he has to offer, but do you have any hardware? No. Like you just said, he's not even going to the Pro Bowl this year. But all of those things are in the back of his mind and in the back on his team's mind. And when you think about that, yes, Nick, I'll say Andy Reid has proven he's the better coach. But will they get out coached because Andy Reid is a better coach? No. I believe McDermott and staff believe we're better than these guys. And that's just staff. When you look at personnel, do they have more weapons over there in Arrowhead? Of course, I'll give you that. But will they play better collectively? Have they proven that over the course of the season? No, they've proven that when it matters most, they can come together. That's where the Bills, I believe, have to take another step. And when you start to continue to ask all these other questions, it's not just solely about Josh Allen when it comes to the Bills. They want to get behind their quarterback and literally lift him up. It's not just solely about can he outperform Patrick Mahomes. It's can he be a greater leader? Can he make sure that he puts his team in a position to where they have an opportunity to strike and win at the waning moments of that game? That's what Patrick Mahomes has been so great at. And so when I see all of this and I hear you guys talking about Patrick Mahomes has so much more to prove, no, Josh Allen has nothing of what you're talking about when it comes to accolades and hardware. But if he does lose, now we put Joe Burrow ahead of him. We put Justin Herbert ahead of him, who hasn't even been in the postseason. We put these quarterbacks ahead of them because they have potential just like Josh Allen. And they have a window just like Josh Allen. And we start to minimize all of what he does. So Wilds, although they try to make great points, it's Josh Allen.
Wilds, Wilds. We're just listening to AFC quarterbacks ahead of Josh Allen. I'm gonna throw one more if he loses. You're a big quarterback wins guy. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, hey, you beat him.
No, that
1-0. Trevor Lawrence, 1-0 career
Potential.
against Josh Allen. Look it up. Wild's big quarterback wins guy. Go ahead, Wilds.
Well, honestly, guys, I'll build off of that point. I don't think it's fair to hold that Jacksonville game against Josh Allen. We all just throw it in the garbage. But should you throw the best performance in the garbage, too? Probably. This weekend, I've spent the last 4 days
Best and worst.
in autopsy. Yes, autopsy mode. I have a giant waterproof smock. I have those long gloves, and I went in and I dug in on the Patriots cadaver. Good morning, everybody. And I was in there early. I was what happened here? And you know what it was? Total dysfunction from the defense. I don't necessarily think it was this amazing Josh Allen performance. Granted, he took advantage of it. But now I think that was more of a poor performance in the Patriots defense. So I am taking the Josh Allen hype down a notch because I think the Patriots didn't show up. So for that reason, I am off the Josh Allen hype train. I am back on the Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is now underrated, believe it or not. And I can't believe I'm doing this, but I am siding with Nick Wright. I am sorry, Greg. I am sorry.
Greg
I'm sorry.
is
I'm sorry.
underrated.
Train
Nobody
on
believes
another
it.
train. A lot of transportation talk this morning. All right, we got some stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Getting you ready for the weekend, talking some Bills and Chiefs. Second straight year, these teams are meeting in the postseason. Practically a sweet annual tradition. Both teams healthy. Both teams coming off big wild card wins. Both teams up for that moniker of best in the AFC. KC barely favored at home despite only losing once since November 1st. So, Nick, what do you expect to happen in this game?
Listen, I believe the Chiefs are going to win. I understand why it's not a unanimous opinion. Going to 3 straight Super Bowls is more rare than someone in the NBA scoring 70 points. It's more rare than perfect games. It's happened 3 times ever. The Dolphins in the 70s, the Bills famously in the 90s, and the Patriots a few years ago. We've had 8 back-to-back Super Bowl champs in that stretch, yet only 3 times a team has made 3 straight Super Bowls. So I get why people are saying at some point the Chiefs are going to not be the AFC representative. What I don't understand, Broussard, is why folks are acting like the Chiefs don't have every measure in their favor in this game. They have the better coach. They have the better weapons. They are at home. And yes, dare I say, what is an unpopular opinion right now, they have the better quarterback. I understand that Josh Allen is on an unbelievable streak of 1 consecutive great games and on an unbelievable streak of 1 consecutive great playoff games. But I'm old enough to remember, in fact, we have infants in America right now that are old enough to remember Josh Allen 2 weeks ago almost losing to the Jets. Josh Allen 3 weeks ago having the worst game of his life against the Falcons. What happened right before the Falcons game? Oh, a great Josh Allen against the Patriots game. I wonder if that's instructive of what's going to happen here. And there's no one in the world alive to remember Mahomes playing poorly at home in the playoffs. In fact, show me the numbers quickly. He's the greatest home playoff quarterback ever. That's all. 20 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 120 rating. Those are all-time rankings. So, you know what, Broussard? I'm going to say this. This is not better than a bye. It's not impossible the Bills win. I understand things can happen. But if you tell me I have to pick one of these 2 doors, the Bills win or the Chiefs win by double digits, give me door B. We are more likely to see a team dancing on the sideline in Kansas City like we did in last year's AFC Championship game than we are to see tables being smashed in anything but anger and frustration if the Bills were to win. So that's what I'll say.
Look, you know I'm with you, Nick, on picking the Chiefs to win this game. I'm not with you on a blowout. Sure, it's possible. But if you give me that same choice, what's more likely? A blowout win by the Chiefs or they lose? I'd say they lose. I mean, Buffalo's legit. And if they bring their A game, you know you got trouble. The question, though, is will they bring their A game? They coming off a fantastic game last week. And it's not just Josh Allen. You've done a great job of highlighting Josh Allen's Magic Mountain Tour, as you call it, and, you know, how he's up and down. Well, I guess they go as he goes because that team is up and down. You can look at so many regular season games where they played phenomenally, and then afterwards, they followed it up with a loss. Look, the win against Kansas City, big win. Then they lose to Tennessee. Okay, no shame there, but still, it's a loss. Then you look at, they beat the Jets by scoring 45 points. I know the Jets aren't very good, but 45 points. Then you come back and lose to Indianapolis. And even when they come back and beat the Patriots, after that embarrassing loss where the Pats only threw 3 times, they go ahead and struggle, don't play well in beating Atlanta. I'll even go back. We know that Saints team shut out Tom Brady, held Aaron Rodgers to 3 points. Buffalo puts 31 on them, but then follows that up with that embarrassing loss against New England. So they are up and down. And again, not just the quarterback. I also think, Nick, what's at work is that the Chiefs and Mahomes have set such a high standard because they've been to the last couple Super Bowls. They've been to the last, 3 AFC title games. And Mahomes himself has set such a high standard that when they don't quite meet it or when they fall a little short, it looks much worse than it actually is. People think Patrick Mahomes had a bad season. Not a slightly down year for a guy that's an all-time great, but a bad season. And yet, he's in the top 5 in touchdown passes and in yards per game. So that's something that's at work as well, Nick. And while that's why a lot of people, I think, are falling in love with Buffalo in this game and underestimating what the Chiefs could go out there and do.
So I'm glad you mentioned falling in love. Love, very powerful psychological motivation. Do a lot of things for love. But you know what's more powerful than that, Nick? Revenge. Revenge is the most powerful motivating factor in the world. Just check out Man on Fire. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Creasy Bear, not having
Creasy
it.
Bear.
So here's
Wilds
the,
loves
oh my
Creasy
goodness,
Bear.
do I ever?
Loves him.
Oh, I love him. Oh, with Christopher Walken. Yeah. Oh, he's about to paint his masterpiece. Oh, look, shivers up my spine. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Buffalo wanted revenge on the Patriots. They wanted revenge for the game we didn't throw the ball. They wanted revenge for 2 decades of dominance. Now they are riding high. I still think now the revenge factor goes in Kansas City's favor. I think Patrick Mahomes knows, obviously, that Buffalo went in there and won in Arrowhead. You got Josh Allen hurdling guys. But remember this clip very early in the year, Nick, when Mahomes was counting on his hands after he threw a touchdown? We're like, what is he doing? Is he counting the yards? And remember, he was counting his ranking on NFL.com. It stuck with him because he was aware of where he was ranked. He's aware of this rocket ship that Josh Allen is on. And I think they're out to prove a point. I think they're out to prove a point against the Steelers. Josh Allen, that's what you did? Well, you threw one to your offensive lineman? Well, I'll have Travis Kelce throw one to ours. I think the revenge factor is headed way in Kansas City's favor. It's a 1.5 point spread. I hate to say it, Broussard. There's nothing I hate more. I'm with Nick Wright on this one.
So, thank you, Wilds. I'm glad you're going to get a pick right. Wow. We all have the Chiefs. We'll be the only show like this. Listen, our beloved Peter Schrager called Josh Allen's game the greatest quarterback performance he's ever seen in the playoffs. I didn't even know that could happen in the first round. That's like calling Jordan's 63 points against the Celtics the greatest playoff game ever. Like, no, you got to be later in the playoffs. But I guess some people could call it that. There's a lot of people saying Allen. Oh, it's up there, of course. Yeah, it's Michael Jordan. My apologies. Jordan actually had a 5 for 17 that was underrated. I forget. There's a lot of Josh Allen is this Terminator-esque figure that just involves using a different sci-fi movie. I believe the Men in Black neuralizers to make you not remember literally 2 weeks ago or literally 3 weeks ago when he had the worst game of his career. But there is another factor here, and that is this. The Bills admitted their entire offseason was built around an obsession with Kansas City. They built their team specifically to beat the Chiefs. What happens if Kansas City beats them to their team? We know at least one, maybe both of their coordinators are gone. We don't know what psychological damage it would do to the franchise as a whole if this year, coming off that game, the Chiefs don't beat them, but what if they beat them like they did last year? Down 9-0 early and then a 38-6 run. What we do know is this. Losing to the Chiefs in this round, the game before the conference championship, has been a death knell for 3 franchises. The Colts got to this round, Mahomes' first year starting. Andrew Luck retired after the game, never to be seen again. The Texans got to this round, were up 24-0. Since that moment, and then when they were outscored 56-7 the rest of the way, that team is 8-25. And on their third head coach. The Browns got to this game, had a chance because Mahomes got hurt. How'd they respond? Back to below 500. Baker has the worst year of his career. Total upheaval in the franchise. There is a legitimate curse developing, Jenna, from playing the Chiefs in this round. And I don't believe in goblins and ghouls, but I do believe in sports curses. And I'm telling you this right now. Bill's about to suffer it. 2022, first gambling pick of 2022, Jenna. Fade the Bills. Fade them. Because they're getting their teeth kicked in this weekend.
Let's go. With the Chiefs.
Let's go, America.
Undisputed right now.